So this is the brand new plasma system in Hypertherm's lineup, the even more powerful and even more versatile than ever before, Powermax45xp, and this is based on the original Powermax45, which I'm a huge fan. I actually went out and bought one about 5.5 years ago or so, as a lot of my longer term viewers will know, way back when I was still in high school, and over the years I've had quite a few adventures with this machine. It's been a wonderful unit. It's performed exceptionally well in it. Actually still works just fine. You know, these are proven machines. Hypertherm managed to sell more than 100,000 of them at one point. And Hypertherm being Hypertherm, they didn't just sit around being satisfied with what they already had, as good as it was. They longed for more, and late last year they revealed the new and improved Hypertherm Powermax45xp. It boasts quite a few new features, although they've somehow managed to keep its MSRP the same price as the original 45. It now cuts 5A steel at its rated speed instead of half-inch. The power switch has been moved to the front of the machine for easier access, along with a handful of other upgrades which make the machine quite a bit more operator friendly. It now includes an automatic internal air regulator, which makes for faster and easier setup than the previous model. It now does something called marking, more on that later, and it can even share consumables with many of the larger Powermax systems thanks to its brand new Duramax torch. So let's get this set up and
they don't even cheap out on the zip ties. These things are like industrial strength. Alright, so in terms of torch installation, what's really great about this is it's just a very simple shove in until it clicks. And what's great about that is, let's say I have this one machine here and I need to do some handheld cutting, or I need to do some gouging, or I need to cut up some skeletons left over from cutting things out of a 4x8 sheet of plate on my table. And I'm alternating between that and using this machine torch. What's really awesome is all you have to do to change these torches out, it's not a complicated process. You don't have to like take apart the plasma cutter or anything. Literally just press this button here, the big red H pulls right out. It's literally every bit as easy as it looks. And then you just pop in the other torch, in my case the machine torch, and it's in there. Same deal to remove it. So we're about to cut some stuff with this machine, and I noticed this little tag which comes on the front side of your torch assembly, and it tells you what it is: Hypertherm Duramax lock for Powermax45xp, made in USA. And then we flip this over, it gives you a serial number that might be for the torch or else the machine that it comes with. Gives you a description, 75-degree hand torch assembly. It tells you when it was built, it tells you who it was assembled by, and it says it was tested. This stuff is actually tested equipment, so you don't have to worry about machines showing up dead on arrival and not working like right out of the box like with some companies. So now that we have that out of the way, let's get this set up. It's actually pretty simple. Again, power switch right here on the front. I think that's really cool. It really is the little things that make you happy sometimes. So we just reach around, flip that on, machine comes to life, and we've got our various cutting modes here. You can see it's set to its actual cutting mode, and then there's gouging mode right below it. We've got all these various error codes like lack of air pressure, electrical input problem, torch not assembled, and overheat. And then we have this little knob right here which lets us set our amperage. Goes, obviously it's a 45 amp system, so it goes up to 45 amps, goes all the way down to 10 amps, but we'll leave it turned up to 45. And just like that, all we have to do is hook up this ground clamp here, and then we are going to be ready to cut. So our post flow just kicked off. As most of you guys know, it's perfectly normal for a unit like this to run some compressed air through itself for a number of seconds just to help cool down the consumables and work to further extend their life. So what's really great about this is since plasma is non-directional, it's really easy if you have to cut curves or shapes or lines or really anything like that. There you go, my best attempt at a straight cut. And something else that sets this machine apart from some of the others on the market is with this torch setup, we can actually just rest this right on the surface of the material and guide it along. Works to extend consumable life this way, and it also makes it a lot faster to actually cut material as well. Some machines, you can't actually have them touching, you have to have a little bit of a standoff or else stuff like sticks to it and arcs to the plate. It's really bad. But with this, like I said, we can just rest this on the material. We don't even have to be on the edge of the material. We can start in here with a pierce cut and then cut away. just like that.
And one of the most famous advantages to the plasma cutting process, we can cut straight through rust and paint and grease and grime and crap. This is actually probably some of the rustiest, nastiest stuff in the shop. Some diamond tread plate, and we'll be able to cut through this with no problems. And the machine, honestly, with how hot the plasma cutting arc is, it's not even going to know this rust is even here. Super rusty plate, cuts it as fast as I can guide it. Can this machine do really rusty steel, but it can do really, really hard steel. This is actually some tool steel. It's part of a grater blade of some sort. I got this from a mechanic buddy of mine. And yeah, so this is incredibly hard steel. Not only that, it's also fairly thick steel. How are we gonna do this? We'll do it like that. You can see just some plain old calipers here, and get a quick measurement off of that. Just under an inch thick. I think it's actually probably supposed to be an inch thick, and since it's not new, probably like 35 thousandths got worn off the top there. And as you're about to see, we'll be able to make it through this. Now, since this is of course a little bit thicker than Hypertherm really rates these systems for on a regular basis, this might be what a person would refer to as severance cutting, which is it'll sever it. It's not going to be quite as clean or as fast as cutting some thinner material. But you're about to see, totally do it. No complaints from the 45xp. Just a little bit of extra dross on there since, again, we are cutting a little bit thicker material. One other thing I'll point out is this torch is ridiculously ergonomic. I have slightly larger hands. It fits my hands really, really well. And even if you had smaller hands, you can get really close up around the trigger with this as well. So really, really digging the new torch design. So not only is this machine great for general fabrication type applications or even cutting some thicker material, it's actually not a bad unit for use on auto body thickness steel and really thin stuff as well. You think just because it can cut really thick stuff, maybe that takes away from its performance on the lower end of the spectrum, but I found it actually doesn't, and due to the fact that the plasma cutting process puts much less heat into a workpiece than, I don't know, traditional oxy-fuel cutting for comparison, it's actually really well cut out for working on thinner materials as well. So we got this turned down to 25 amps, and just with the original consumables that came in this, the 45 amp class consumables, these aren't even any of their fine cut consumables or anything, we'll make real quick work of this piece of 16 gauge with minimal warpage. So you can see if we look in here that the heat affected zone of this piece on the top of the plate is almost completely non-existent. We just have a tiny little bit of discoloration, and that's actually just the first time I've done this, so I wanted to practice with it. I bet I could make this even smaller as well. So I figured next we'd try some gouging with this machine. Only problem is I've never actually gouged with this machine. However, like I said, they do give you a really user-friendly operator's manual. The thing is genuinely useful, which should be assumed, but you don't want to assume that. And it tells you straight up there's two types of gouging you can do with this. There's what they call maximum control gouging, and then there's precision gouging. So maximum control, it says use this process to remove metal and achieve a controlled gouge profile. And then there's precision gouging, which is what it sounds like. So, it tells you straight up you'll need the gouging consumables, of which you get a set with the machine in this little starter pack here. And all we're going to do to change out our cutting consumables, our regular cutting consumables and our gouging, we're going to take this little switch here on the top of the torch and we're going to move it down just like that. So then we can no longer cut with this. And then we're just going to take off this consumable stack here. We take our specialty gouging shield, which has been beautifully machined too, I'll add. We drop in our nozzle. We got our electrode situated in here. If we did this right, it should all just go back together like that. And what's really great about this system is on the old 45 or any number of other units, since we removed this, it would activate this little pressure switch in here which tells the machine that there's a fault in the torch head because, you know, it's not all the way assembled or something's loose. And then to clear that, we'd have to walk all the way over and turn off the machine. But with this, all we have to do is re-engage the switch, reset the airflow, and it's ready to roll. So as you can see, these are some decently sized welds. This is spray arc MIG on some 5/16 steel plate. And as you can see here, there's just no longer a weld. I don't really know how else to say that. There was one, and now it's just completely and totally gone. So this is of course useful if you have to like remove a part off of something that's been damaged or needs to be replaced without destroying that part. You know, you can separate things right where they're welded. It's basically like unwelding. That's the way I'd describe it to someone. And it's an excellent process for removing old or broken welds. So not only is the gouging process really useful for larger welds like these spray arc welds on some thicker material, it can also be useful, at least with this machine, also on some thinner material through Hypertherm's own precision gouging mode. So while we're still in our gouge function here, I'm just going to go ahead and turn this machine down from 45 amps to about 15 or so. Another thing that's really nice about this is this knob, like as you turn it, you can actually feel this thing click. So if you want to cut it a particular amperage, it's really easy to get that exact amperage. There's no guesswork in it like there was with the older systems. So 15 amps, this is some 14 gauge thin sheet metal on here with a 3/16 bracket on it. And just slice this off here real fast. That's actually such an incredibly faint gouge. I'm actually going to turn this up a little bit, but the point is I can turn this way down and remove absolutely minute amounts of material if I'm working on sheet metal or trying to salvage, you know, mounts or brackets off of auto body thickness material, or I can even cut out spot welds with this thing, believe it or not. So I'm going to turn this from 15 amps to, we'll do 25 here. Much better. Only poked through once, and now with most of our material removed, I can actually just take this, off it comes. Yeah, with a little more practice, we wouldn't even be burning through there, but just like that, we've removed about 1.5 inches of weld with two completely reusable, if after one little tack weld, parts. So in that little skit, we, I just had Seth here welding away, and I came in and plasma gouged it out. Well, since we knew we were going to gouge it out immediately, we didn't even bother to clean the weld, and this thing just blew straight through the slag, just didn't even care. I mean, there's chunks of stick welding slag that's been dislodged and have flown over this way. That's like re-slagged stick welding slag. And actually, in this gouge, you can actually see where these two pieces of material meet. That's what that little line is right there. That's actually looking straight through the weld. And then the rest of this, if I was really trying to separate this, I just have to hit it again with two gouging passes. Or I could adjust my technique and go a little slower and do it all in one pass. But I was pretty impressed with that. We're just sort of messing around to make you guys this video, and straight through the slag, doesn't even care. So
If you do repair work on stuff that's like, you know, covered in grease or painted or powder coated or whatever, you can just get yourself a good respirator, of course, and it just blasts through whatever, because like I said, it just does not care.
So another really cool feature of the plasma cutting process is you can cut things that aren't just steel. You can cut stainless steel, aluminum, cast iron. Here, for instance, we have some 3/16 aluminum flat stock. We'll zip right through it with this cutting arc, and this machine, it just doesn't care. It'll cut anything. It'll conduct electricity just about. Another brand new feature for this exciting new system is its marking capabilities, which are outlined in the manual quite nicely. Now, I've never actually marked with a plasma cutter before. I've never even seen it done, honestly, but we're going to give it a go today. And as you can see in the images in the manual, this would be an excellent way to serialize things, especially if you have this set up on a CNC table so you can do really even, really pretty text with it. You know, if you work in a small production facility or something, you make items, you want to keep track of them, you can write a production date, serial number, your company name, a part number, anything along those lines, or for that matter about anything you want. So we're going to try this out. I'm going to turn this down in its gouging mode to about 15 amps or so, and this will be the first time I've ever marked anything before. Well, that was anticlimactic. That was really easy, actually. Yeah, look at that. We're just below the surface of the material. Really, the main thing I could think to do to make that better would be to make it steadier. You know, again, this is something that's intended for use not only through handheld processes, but also with a machine torch on a CNC setup. You can totally do it just with a handheld torch, however, as we just did. So, you know what? Just for the heck of it, let's see how this looks cleaned up a little bit. You know, that actually, considering I've never done this before, I'm pretty pleased with that. You know, it shows up through paint quite nicely. You know, this is really made, like I said, for if you need to serialize things, if you want to write dates and model numbers and whatnot on things. You can even write instructions with this. I could put, like, I don't know, check oil before use, or, you know, why stop there? Especially on a CNC type setup, you could probably even program this to do like an outline of your company's name or your logo or something. It's really, really cool technology. I've never even seen this done before, but I'm really, really impressed with this thing. And like I said, this is just my first attempt. I could make this a lot better by practicing with it. I could get perfect results off a CNC table, but just for going at this, having never done it before, I'm pretty pleased by that. So I've been a big fan of the original Powermax 45, and Hypertherm has managed to take that unit and somehow make it even better. It's got a whole lot of new features, plus an increased cutting capability, a built-in moisture trap, a reliable built-in automatic regulator, a front-mounted power switch with a detachable ground lead, and more, plus the brand new marking feature, which I'm sure is going to become a staple here in the shop. Now, I will say that I've really enjoyed getting to work with this new machine. It's performed absolutely flawlessly, as is the Powermax usual, and all I have to say here is well done, Hypertherm. So I'd like to thank everybody for watching this video. I really hope you've enjoyed it, and cheers to another 6 years with the original Powermax 45, and I have no doubt the new and improved 45XP will be here for just as long. So myself and this new machine, well, we'll see you next time. Have a nice night, everybody.